Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we collect some flower seeds. So let's go. One of the best ways you can save money in your garden is by growing your own plants from seed. And one of the cheapest ways you can grow plants from seed is by collecting your own seeds. We're going to be collecting seeds from a number of different plants in my yard, so let's get started. I have lots of experiments that I'm going to try this year. This will be one of them. I have never grown Clematis or Clematis from seed. You can see what the beautiful seed pods look like. Usually when it comes to propagating this plant, I've had luck doing it through division. So I figured this is the year to try it. Look how pretty that seed pod looks. And I'll be doing my research to see if there's anything special that I need to do when it comes to propagating Clematis from seed. And I might as well grab them all because I think I'm going to be experimenting with this a few different ways. I might even try to grow this indoors. And then I'm also going to do what I do with a lot of my perennial seeds, which is winter sow the seeds. I've never had Clematis just volunteer itself out in my landscape. And that tells me right there that this plant doesn't necessarily self-seed readily or easily. At least it doesn't in my yard. Because if it did, I would be leaving a bunch of seeds on here, hoping that they would drop and create plants for me. And I'm okay taking these seeds because the wildlife, from what I can see, doesn't feast on the seeds. So I might as well take them and experiment with them. And I have plenty to experiment with. Timing is everything when it comes to collecting your Clematis seeds. And the seeds are going to look different from plant to plant. Sometimes the seeds will be bigger, sometimes the seeds will be smaller. Sometimes you might see this little fuzzy tail and you might not see any seeds forming at all during the end of the season. That might be because these did not get pollinated. You need them to be pollinated in order for them to create the seeds. I'm just showing you the back of the seed pod. The little tails that you see there help disperse the seeds in the wind. And if I start to take this apart very slowly, you can see that there is the seed at the end of the tail. And the seed should be plump and hard. That's how you'll know that the seed is viable, at least from what I've read. I'm just pulling this apart to show you where all the seeds are located. They're located towards the center. And you'll notice that actually a lot of the seeds have started to fall off on their own. This video is not meant to be a tutorial on how to start Clematis seeds because, like I mentioned, this will be my first year really trying to experiment with this seed. And I'll be making videos in the future showing you my results. But at least now you know what to look for when it comes to collecting the seed pods of Clematis and what the seeds look like. Remember again that the seeds will look different depending on the variety of Clematis. Sometimes they'll be bigger, sometimes they'll be smaller. The big thing to take away from this is you want to wait until the seeds have turned a black color, just like that. If they're green, that means they're not ready to be picked yet. With all the seeds, I'm going to wait for about a week before I store them. For the Clematis seeds, you can store them with or without their tails. I will be removing the tails. And the reason is it just takes up less room to put these seeds in this small bag here. You can store your seeds in a paper bag or a paper envelope. I'm just using a plastic bag. I've used plastic bags for years. The big thing is to make sure that the seeds are fully dry before you store them. I just labeled the bag with Clematis. It's a purple color. I can't remember the variety. If I knew the variety, I could put that on here in the year that I collected the seeds. I like to store all my seeds in a cool, dark, dry location. The next plant is balloon flower. You want to wait until the seed pods have turned this color, a light brown or a tan color. If they are still green, you want to wait. You do not want to pull green seed pods off the plant because the seeds that are in there may not be viable. I don't remember if this is a white color or a purple color balloon flower, but nevertheless, I wanted to collect its seeds. This is a close-up of what the seed pod looks like, and I want you to notice the little opening at the top. That tells you also that the seed pod is ready and it has seeds in there that we can collect. And if you shake it, you'll hear a little rattling inside, and those are the seeds. I placed the balloon flower seeds and seed pods on this paper to dry for a week, and I like to put all my seeds on a piece of paper like this, just so I can see what the seeds look like. Also, you'll notice there's a crease where the paper is folded in half. That just makes it easier when the time comes for me to funnel the seeds off of the paper into the bag. To remove the seeds from the seed pod, what you want to do is you can either tip them upside down like this and just shake them around, and you'll see that the seeds are coming out. And that's the easiest way to do it. And since the seeds are small enough, you can also use something like a kitchen strainer with a bowl in the bottom to collect the seeds. And you can take all the seed pods and just put them inside of there like this. And then you can just try to crush up the seed pods with your fingers, moving them around or shaking them. And then you're left with all the seeds in the bottom of the bowl. And then you can dump out the seeds from the bowl onto your paper, and again, let the seeds dry for a week before storing them. This is a perennial allium that blooms in the late summer, early fall months. This particular variety is Serendipity Allium, but there are lots of different alliums out there, and the process will be the same. Serendipity Allium is considered a hybrid, so there's no guarantee that the plants that get produced from these seeds will look identical to the parent plant. So let's go ahead and remove the seed pod. And when I bring it closer to you, you can see those little black tiny specks. Those are the seeds. In fact, many of the seeds have already dropped, but at least we're collecting what we can today. I'm going to go ahead and just collect a few more. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in a paper bag because as you can see, the seeds are already starting to drop. I collected a bunch of the allium seed because I figured I might as well. I have nothing to lose. I love the way it looks on the plant. I just think it's very dainty and very pretty. I will mention that I have grown onions from seed, which are in the allium family. And onion seeds, at least, have a very short shelf life, meaning they're not viable for very long. I don't know if that's true for serendipity allium seeds, but I can tell you I will most likely be sowing all of these seeds this year, and I plan on using the winter sowing process just because it's easier for me. But I don't want to store any of the seeds for a long period of time in case the same is true for serendipity allium seeds in the fact that they might lose their viability quickly. I labeled a bag and I'll have it ready to go once the seeds have dried after a week. And since the seeds are small, I'm going to be putting them through a strainer and I'll let the seeds drop into the bowl. I can just move things around with my hand and then I can dump out the seeds. And that's just a close-up of what the seeds look like. I don't mind that there's some non-seed material mixed in there. I can always pull that out if I want to, or I can store it in the bag with the seeds. I also noticed that there were many seeds that did not fit through the wire mesh. So if I wanted to, I could come through and pick out those seeds and then get rid of the larger non-seed material. Here we are in my shade garden, and even though there isn't much to see, this plant is so pretty when it blooms. It's called Ligularia, or leopard plant. It's a beautiful yellow colored flower. I'm almost sure the variety that I have is called bottle rocket. But nevertheless, the plant has started to go to seed, and you can see those little tiny light brown fuzzy pieces. Those are the seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go ahead and take my hand and rake off the seeds off of this large stem. And again, I could use a paper bag or a little Ziploc bag to collect the seeds inside of the bag. I could come in with something like hand pruners and cut off this whole stalk, but I'm just going to go ahead and pull some seeds off. And I'm just placing them in my bag, and I'm going to grab some more. This looks like one jumbled mess. I have my bag labeled, and I like to put the year on here so that I know how fresh my seeds are. Every year that goes by, the seeds are less and less fresh, which means they're less and less viable, and that means they're less likely to germinate for me. Many of the seeds that I'm showing you today are new to me seeds that I've never sown before. So it will definitely be an experiment, and I will bring you along with my experiment later in the season and show you how I do with getting these seeds to germinate. These seeds kind of remind me of the clematis seed in that they're fuzzy, and the little fuzzy part helps disperse the seeds in the wind. I've never had this plant self-seed or self-sow for me. The only way I've been able to propagate it is through division. So that tells me it might be tricky to get these seeds to germinate, but it's worth a try. And that's just a close-up of what the Ligularia seed looks like. When I sow these seeds, I most likely will not be removing the little tail off of each of the seeds because there are so many seeds here, and I feel like it won't matter whether or not I leave the tail on or take it off. But again, be on the lookout for a future video when I sow these seeds. And I'm just zoomed in nice and close so you can see what I've collected here. Time will tell whether or not these produce plants for me. Fingers crossed. I have a lot of other videos on my channel that show you my process for collecting and storing seeds from lots of different plants, as well as how to start those seeds both indoors as well as outdoors. What I'll do is put links to those videos down in the description below, so be sure to check those out. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the thumbs up button down below. If you have any questions or comments, I love hearing from you. And until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.